Hi, this is We Know the Rules podcast. I'm Amy Poo. I'm the boxing life coach. I am also the first female professional boxing referee in the UK. In this podcast, I speak to women who are referees, umpires, or officials in their respective sport. They share their stories and their journeys to date, as well as the mindset they need to have in a male-dominant sporting world. I hope you find inspirations from their stories of courage, strength, and determinations so that you can carry on your own journey. Enjoy. Hi, Diana. How are you?
Good, great, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Right, so we're just going to get straight in. Could you tell us how you get into the sport of boxing?
Well, I guess it's not much different than it is for our male colleagues. I was watching boxing on TV and it kind of hooked me, so I wanted to box myself, which being a female and coming out of a family that has nothing to do with boxing and no interest in boxing whatsoever wasn't that easy. So I wasn't able to box for a long time, and when I was around, I don't know, it must have been between 16, 17, something like that, then I decided I really wanted to box myself. So I went to uh, it's a bar. I'm from Hamburg, and in Hamburg there is this bar called a Witze, which is a typical bar in the red light district. And
Okay.
to enter the door is, just to give you a little overview, the door, so where you have to enter is um, the the open legs of a female woman. So
Oh my
you
God.
enter in between those legs. So after school, I took the train and I went to the red light district because everybody knows there's boxing in the basement. So I went in there to the bar and I went straight to the bar and I said, okay, I want to box. So I'm here and I want to box at your place. And there were TVs around playing porn and everything. And that guy on the bar looked at me and I said, no. I said, yes, I want to box. I know here's boxing, so let me box. He said, no, girl, you don't want to box at our place. I know you don't. I said, I don't know where to box. I know there's boxing. Let me box here. And he said, no, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a Coke. You sit here and I'm going to write down some boxing clubs for you. Okay? Oh, and then you go out and you call those boxing clubs and you learn how to box there, not with us. So he did that,
Fair enough.
and I went out and I called them, those boxing clubs, and started boxing. And so I was boxing for a few years and did some tournaments, but I wasn't the great boxer. I really loved boxing, and I was competing and in the training I was really good. But you know, the step into the ring and being there, I wasn't that great. Not really bad, but not that great. So I figured I should probably switch. So I did my trainers classes and I became a trainer. And in Germany, it's you have to be a C trainer, then a B trainer, and then an A trainer. So I made it to the B level, and I was a trainer for quite a while. And going to tournaments with the kids and all, I was training kids. And then I just thought maybe judging and refereeing, officiating could be something, and I tried that. So I took a class, and it ended up being my thing. I really feel great. I love officiating. I think I'm trying to do a good job, but I think I found my place in the sport I love. So yeah, that's how I got there.
That's amazing. I love the story. You have to walk through the female legs into this bar. But I guess like it kind of fits in with the image that people have with boxing, doesn't it? That it's probably just
Absolutely.
and yeah, please. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you know nothing about the sport, just that you want to know something about it, you don't know that it's a normal sport, that you can go to just any club that has tennis as well as boxing probably. But just if you're not so, yes, if you don't have that much knowledge about the sport, you think it's just a red light district and a lot of criminals in there. So you have to go to the place where it is if you want to see it. So, yeah.
But for a 16, 17-year-old girl to go to a red light district, to go into a bar, that shows courage.
Yeah, and a little bit of craziness probably, but I really wanted box. I somehow it triggered me, and I really wanted to do it, and I knew my parents wouldn't allow, so you had to do it some other way.
Yeah, I mean, your story, part of it, I really resonated in terms of, your family obviously not really into boxing, and they didn't want you to box, and your competing years that you kind of feel like you're good in the gym, but probably not in terms of competition. You feel like you're not a top boxer, I guess.
Absolutely not. I would have loved to be. I mean, I thought that would be my career, being a great boxer, stepping into Regina Halmig's footsteps, but, far, far away. It's just, won't be possible. But
But you said that you found your place officiating. So what's that journey been like? How did you, I guess different countries probably got different process. So did you have to start from judging, or is it judging and refereeing all together?
um, it yeah, it's in Germany because they have it's two different kinds of federations. One is the Olympic Amateur Federation, and one is the Pro Federation, and
Sure.
they're not that much. In the Pro German Federation, there is no schooling system. It's a little different. Either you get in or you don't, and maybe you come from boxing, then you get in easier. So it's not a really there's no system on how to get there, which is different with the Olympic boxing. So there I had to be a judge first for the first
Yeah.
year. So I went to a school to be a judge, and then I had to get the testing. Then I had to go to a lot of fights to judge, but my scores didn't count. And
Right.
after a while, I was allowed to judge with my scores counting, but only regional. So I was living in Bavaria by that time, so I could only judge Bavarian fights. And whenever
Sure.
anybody else came, I wasn't allowed. And then it got a step up after several judging seminars. Then they said I'm allowed to judge national ones. So then I was allowed to judge national, and then I was allowed to do the refereeing seminar. So I went to refereeing school there and did the referee seminar. And of course, then it's also, you can only referee regional at the beginning. But of course, you
Sure.
can't play refereeing. Like you're not you can't be there as the fourth man. That's ridiculous. So once you're done the testing, you're the referee in charge, and it counts what you say, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Sure. Sure.
So, but only in little ones, and it takes a while. Then again you get national, and then you have to do another class, and they have to assign you for the class, and then you can go to do the international one. And I did all these and did the international, and after being international for a while, I was supposed to go to the AIBA class. By that time, it was still AIBA, but
Mm.
somehow it was all set up, and then they canceled the class. So it was okay, let's do it a half year. Then the class was canceled again, and then I figured, okay, I'm gonna turn pro because I already talked to the pro referees, and then I turned pro by then.
Okay.
So
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because well, people who watch boxing would know, like, the amateur boxing and professional boxing, they're actually quite different, aren't they? So what made you make that transition, I guess?
well, it was for once it was the interest of learning more, or stepping into a different field. On the other, it had also some, yeah, it was just some technical or family thing. Like in amateur boxing, you have to be, once you reach a level, you have to go to tournaments if you want to stay at that level, and you have to officiate in tournaments. So
Right.
tournaments are usually a week long, and you go there in the morning, you do the weigh-in, you have 3 sessions, then in the evening you go back, and it's for a week. You take a week of vacation because most of us have normal jobs as well. So you have to take a week vacation time, which you can't spend with your family afterwards. Then you are totally ready for vacation once that tournament is done, because you've been working so much. You are officiating as a judge, as a referee, as a timekeeper. You do everything. As you're looking at the weigh-ins, not all the time, but if you're unlucky, they put you onto the weigh-in, and it was so much. And I figured I love boxing, I love refereeing, I love judging, and they're very strict in a way that I don't like the strictness. I like the with the movement and everything, what you have to do in the Olympic boxing. You have to be very straight. You shouldn't go backwards. There are some rules that for me are ridiculous when refereeing, because I like to referee and move comfortably so that I can act comfortably if something happens, and not okay, I don't want to look stupid. But if I look stupid because I am catching someone, then I rather look stupid and saving someone from falling than looking straight and very nicely, but I have that person fall. So, and those things I couldn't really, yeah, I felt like I should, probably my place is somewhere else. So I moved to the pros.
Yes, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think that transitioning, and like you said, that, in the Olympic boxing or Olympic style boxing, a lot of requirements for the referee, isn't it? And even the judges, that when you sit at ringside, you have to sit like really straight up, like you're not looking around or whatever. So yeah, there are a lot of different kind of rules, and I guess, yeah, movements, like hand signals as well, isn't it? That is quite
True,
strict.
true.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel so comfortable with that. Like I think it's good. I think you have, or you should do. You don't have to. Should start with the Olympic boxing because it gives you so much. You learn so much from that strictness. Because if you never have that strictness, you cannot loosen it afterwards because you probably just go with the flow. So it's really helpful that people are behind you, watching like every little tiny movement that you're doing, and that they sit you down afterwards and tell you every small mistake, and even if it's just one step too much to the back or one look too much on the side. But those things make you aware. So if you've gone through that schooling, it's easier with the pros afterwards, because you have already a lot of knowledge that you wouldn't get, because people are not looking that much on you once you turn pro. At least in Germany, it's like that.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that, like you said, that they're very strict and they're very critical. They really nitpick, don't they? But that really lays the foundation, you know. I remember one time I got told off by a three-star referee that I stopped in the ring, probably just for like a split second before I turned away. And then he was like, "You don't stop in the ring, you keep walking." And then I was like, that is really strict, you know. But yeah, but I completely get that. Yeah. So coming back to when you talk about, you know, obviously you're international level referee, now you're a professional referee. Um, what would you say your best moment in your career so far as a boxing official?
Oh, there were so many great moments. Well, there was like I think the highlight refereeing that I did, but I was very overwhelmed by that, so I couldn't really get the highlight that it was being in Monte Carlo, refereeing a Bracus fight, which was a five-time championship, and it was a very small venue because it was in the casino, but it was all like invited people. The prince was there, the princess was there, so it was just very high class level. And when I was running around for, because I had the main event, and so I was just, walking around, sitting down there with my bow tie and all dressed up. All those high, upper class people were asking me where their seats are because they obviously didn't figure that I'm the referee, but they figured I'm going to be helping them out and bringing them water or something. And I had to tell them, I'm sorry, I do work here, but I have a different position, and so you probably want to ask somebody else. So those are also the things you have to go through especially when you're a female at an event like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
that
how
was
did
probably, hmm?
sorry,
Sorry,
go on,
no, no,
please.
you. I said that was probably that was definitely the biggest fight I did, and um, it was interesting and great because, yeah, it was so amazing with the people you were working together, and you had the supervisors from five different federations, and they all want to say something, and they're all come. It tells a little like they all come to give when I gave the dressing room instructions, and you have five supervisors behind you, coming, looking, watching what you're saying. Everybody saying, I want this in your dressing room instructions. I think this is very important. Put this. And you're like, oh, I hope I'm not messing up my dressing room instructions now. It's just, whew. And no, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, that does sound amazing and definitely a lot of pressure having five federations watching over you. Yeah. But I want to come back to the incident. So in the same show, obviously you were sitting there with your bow tie, white shirt, black trousers, and then you guys coming to you asking for water, asking for whatever. When you told them you're there as a referee, what was their reaction?
Mm, They were I think a little ashamed. So there wasn't really a big reaction. It was just like, oh, okay, sorry. And then they left. There wasn't really, the bigger reaction is after they've seen you. And I find that to every fight or at every fight I am, where people don't know me, like because now I changed to the Swiss Federation. So within Switzerland now, and before within Germany, people knew you after a while, so they're not confused anymore. But when they first see you, then they look at you and they think, well, yeah, okay, if they think that she should do it, then let's see. Or they find it terrible and stupid. And then afterwards, you have people coming up to you and saying, wow, you did a good job, or oh, wow, that was a tough fight. I respect how you handled them, and something like that. Something that they wouldn't tell our male colleagues because they just assume that they would do the job they do. And when a female referee steps in there, they're surprised that they do it the way they do. So that's a big difference.
Yes, that is such a great point. And I'm sure a lot of other female or women officials probably get very similar kind of experience. That, exactly like what you said, people probably wouldn't say the same thing to a male referee, for example, but they will come to you to say, oh, well done, like, great job. And I mean, how did that make you feel?
Well, of course, it's nicer than you also have people coming to you being like, you're terrible and you should cook. So you have the same thing. So of course it's nicer when they compliment you. So I think it's fine, but sometimes it's just amusing. If it was an easy fight, anybody could sit in. I could have my mother being in there. I just tell her, walk around, don't step over the boxers, and just don't say anything. Just walk around. And it's an easy fight like that, and then people compliment me, and I really didn't have to do anything. And then you see that that's really just because I'm a female, because the boxers could have done that without me being in the ring. So that's something. But
Yeah.
in other parts, I think I think everybody likes to hear something nice. So instead of them not telling me that I did a good job, I think it would be just fair if they would go up to maybe some male colleagues as well, because they're doing great jobs too. Just because there are more of them, it doesn't mean that you cannot tell them when they did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. So would you say those kind of things maybe the challenges that you have faced in your career?
Um, like what kind of things exactly?
So, people coming to you and then giving you compliments, but you kind of know that, well, they only say it because, obviously it is nice when they try to compliment you, but at the same time, just because you're a woman. Um, so I'm just wondering that, do you consider it as a kind of challenge of your position, of your role, or are there other challenges kind of throughout your career to date?
No, I think it's not a real challenge. Sometimes it can be a challenge when it's among a lot of colleagues and they're all male and I'm female and I'm getting the attention and and I did probably, even if I did a good job and then I did a good fight, which I hope I always do a good job, and I'm working for that. But if had a hard fight and I had to really work in that fight, and I'm getting compliments, but other male colleagues also had difficult fights, and they did a good job, and people come up and only compliment me. That is a little challenging, of course, because you get this, you want to fit to your group of colleagues, and you don't want to be like the separate or the different one all the time. But it makes it different when you're always the one getting a little more attention, and which is nice when you get complimented, but you're on the spot more. They do not forgive as much as with male colleagues too. With there's a little thing like um, one one shot to, I don't know, there was a little too low, not a low blow, but a little too low in their consideration, and you didn't say anything. They would see those things and they would call you off and say, why didn't you say that? He was obviously punching low the whole time. And you're like, well, it's belt line. It's like, it was really not low. So, but those things, they will not forgive you. Or if you are having a bad night, which everybody can have, of course, that will stick on you much longer than on a male colleague.
Yeah, so it really sounds like you feel like you're really in the spotlight. People are, even though they do pay compliments, but they're also a lot more critical.
Yes, and I think that's for officials in every male-dominated sport. And they all have to deal with it, but as long as you're aware of it, then you can those are the situations you can handle, but you just have to be aware of that this is gonna happen once you want to go into that career. You have to have thick skin, you have to deal with that, and you have to separate those criticisms from you as a person. They are criticizing you, the referee, and maybe they're fans of one fighter, and probably that fighter lost. So of course it's not the fault of that fighter. They have to find somebody else, and so they're criticizing you, but it's not you personally, and you have to know that, and you have to be able, for your mental health, you have to be able to separate that.
Yeah, that is so important, isn't it? Not taking it personally.
Yeah. That's really something. Otherwise, you can't do it. I mean, as a female, you get into weird situations. I was in the ring once with checking a boxer. You know that how when you check a boxer, that was at the beginning of my career. I don't do that. When we step in, we check if the mouthpiece is there. If it's a title fight, we check if they have two mouthpieces there. Then we check the gloves again in the ring, and then we check if they do have their cup on. And I used to, because with the amateurs and somehow I used to, push it myself and, give it a little hit myself, because it
With the back
doesn't
of your
matter.
hand, you mean?
With the back of my hand, of course. Yeah, I don't grab. I'm not Trump. But just a little push, and that guy pushed back, right into, just to check if I'm wearing a cup, which I'm obviously not doing. So those are things I don't think that would have happened with a male colleague, but those are situations you have to deal with.
So how did you deal with that situation? Obviously, it's very disrespectful, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Luckily, it was just right before the fight started. It was still in the corner. So then at that point, I tell the fighter that it's really disrespectful, unsportsmanship, and if he ever in that ring performs something like that again, I'm going to disqualify him. I'm giving him one more chance because the fight hasn't started yet. And if he behaves now, we'll forget about that incident. But if he doesn't, it's going to be disqualification. And he did behave, and it was good afterwards, but I don't do that anymore. I don't check it myself. I have them push themselves. And but obviously if I find, and usually if I find it's too small where I can't see it, then I have to, open the trunks and take a look. And that's,
Sure.
again, something that is very amusing for the audience, and more amusing than a male looking into the pants.
Yes. Because obviously, I mean, at the moment, the majority of professional boxers are still male. So you're going to officiate more male fighters than, female fighters. And there are things that men can get away with, but female referees might not be able to. Well, perception wise, people, like you said, people find it funny.
Yeah, and
So,
but you learn from that experience. Like right now, I'm usually asking them to show me their cup when I'm in the dressing room, and so that I can see the cup beforehand, and I don't check it when I'm ringside in the ring already, checking the rest, because you can just act better. But that's a learning process. I mean, I've heard one sentence that I found very true. And that was like, every sportsman or every athlete, when you see he gets in and he's a new athlete, he gets in there, you say, oh, he's new, he has to learn, he has to get an opponent that is not so easy, or he's in a football match and you just put him in a few minutes and then you let him out because he's new and everybody understands he's new, give him some time. Officials cannot be new. Officials have to perform on the top the minute they decide to be officiating. But we're all people, so we all have to learn, and we are all constantly learning and then developing. So, and from these experiences we learn. But the audience and a lot of people who are not involved with officiating, they do not understand that officials as well as athletes have to develop what they know.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think that's really a great point. Like almost the audience forget that we're also human being, that, we are still accumulate our experience, and then we're trying to improve and then progress, and we're just the same as everyone else, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think that maybe sometimes that audience are quite unforgiving in that sense. So they think that every decision you have to be spot on, you have to be 100%. But we all make mistakes, don't we? So
We're
yeah.
all humans
So
and we're trying to do our
yeah,
best.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what would you say? So we talked about your high moment in Monte Carlo. What would you say probably your low moments in your career to date?
Well, that was probably pretty recent. In the end, it wasn't that low, but in the moment, it was very challenging. And it was in England, so you might know. I was judging at that point. I was judging the Natasha Jonas Michaela Mayer fight in
Right.
Liverpool,
Right.
and a great fight, wonderful fighters. Both ladies were great. They just did an amazing job. On my card, Michaela Mayer won. So, um, and I knew she won. Sometimes you have fill out those scorecards and usually you forget about the score you did because, you're scoring and you're giving those scorecards away, and then you're concentrating so much on the next round that you don't know like the 2 rounds before what you have done. But in that particular fight, because it was in Liverpool, a lot of like all of them almost were Natasha Jonas fans, of course. So, and I knew I had Michaela Maya up front winning on my cards. So I knew I was stepping right like into the knife. I with open eyes, bright arms wide awake, stepping frontal into that. But for me, she was just always the little dot better. So I scored the way I saw it, and then I stand to my score. I re-watched that because of the outcome, and then Jonas won, obviously, and then they call out the scores, and they call out the scores by name, and then your name comes, and about 20,000 people booing at you, like really screaming if you're blind and stupid, and that was an experience. That was something. And then the security came and they said, okay, we're bringing you to the hotel. Come, we're going. So then you feel like, okay, I should probably leave that venue now. So people really don't like me. And then you feel like the feeling I had was, what did I see? I have no idea. Did I make such a big mistake? Because I get confused. I thought I was so sure with my score. And then I thought, how can I be so far off? And then the first gut feeling is like, go to the hotel room, cover up, like blanket over the head and just don't hear anything. But that you can't do because it's your score, right? you have to deal with what you see. You have to stand up for what you see, and if you make a mistake, stand up to it. So I went back down, and I went and sat with the officials and the fans and everything. It was all good. But of course, I had to, I didn't go straight to the bar where everybody was meeting with a bright face. I wish I could hide, which I of course didn't. But it was interesting, and I felt much better. And this is, however, like officials from all over the world, officials that I don't talk to on regular basis, wrote me on Facebook messages and saying that they probably scored it like me or had a good score or something. So they kind of took care of me. They said, don't worry, you did fine. Don't worry about what happened. And that's something that we officials have to do more. I felt that when I was in that position where you feel like you've been dramatically wrong and you don't have the chance to rewatch it or anything, then it's so helpful when you have officials coming up to you, even if you did a bad job, coming up to you and saying that can happen to everyone, and then somehow being there for you. And in that situation, I was very, very blessed to have that from people that I never knew they even know my name. And I learned from that because I just want to do the same thing with officials that I see. Because if you receive so much love, you have to give that back to whoever is in need of that. And that's the great thing. And I hope other people will experience the same kind of being carried when they need it. And I hope that I can give that back to someone sometime.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have given that support to me. And I definitely, this is only the second time I met you, right? The first time in person. And you gave me so much advice and so much support and encouragement that I really, really appreciate it. So you definitely have done that. But at the same time, it's so good to know that, you've got that support around you.
It's so helpful. It's so helpful because it's just, what people say, and that's not just for female officials, that's for every official. It's always a robbery. They always say, oh, it's a robbery. If there's something that they don't like, oh, it's oh, it's that. Oh, they were bought. But they have to think. I mean, we're bought? How much money? I mean, that's just, it doesn't make sense. It just calculate numbers. You don't have to be really good at math to be calculating numbers, knowing that officials are not bought. That doesn't work. The pressure that officials have is the pressure of that media, the social media, the people getting on them, the people being really harsh to them. That's the only pressure they have, and that's the only pressure of being afraid of doing the same thing or for them the right thing of what they see in a venue where they know it's gonna be going down on them, and to be strong enough to still go that way and not and putting yourself out there and open for all that criticism. That's the pressure. It's not being bribed or of any other kind, but the pressure. But if you have colleagues that have your back, then you can deal with that pressure with, it's still not nice, but you can deal with it, of course. And you can go out there with your head up, and you can start doing the next, forget about that, park that, or learn from that experience and then park it. That's actually better. And then go on and do your next step.
Yeah. I really love and admire your attitude and, just being able to kind of accept. And like you said, just you move on, right? You have to almost kind of like, you remember the lesson or whatever you learned from it, but you need to move on. We need to move on. But I just want to come back to that experience. And I know it's probably a bit painful, but having the stadium booing that, and then having the security say that we're going to take you to the hotel, that must be quite scary.
that is, yeah, that is scary, but I was in such a shock because I knew would be unhappy. I knew everybody would scream and yell. But because for me, the outcome of the fight was so clear, I thought, okay, they're going to hate all three of us. So, you're in a team of being hated. So it's easier if they hate all of you. But if you're the
Sure.
only one being like hated like that, that does make a difference. It's, I know it's mean, but, and you don't want that pressure on your colleagues. But it's always easier if they hate all of you than just not you, than just only yourself at that moment.
Yeah. Do you think it was worse because you're the only woman out of the three judges?
No,
Okay.
funny. I haven't thought of that until you said it. I think no, at this special moment, no, because they just hated whoever was against uh, Jonas. So it could be at that point it could have been anyone. And it was the same thing after, but I didn't know it at that time. Just a few days later, on media, I saw it. It was just the same thing for the Michaela Mayer fans. They thought I did a perfect job online, and they just hit and tried to burn my colleague. That was a very close fight. It was a very close fight. So it's like it depends on where you are having that fight and whose fans you're with. And the ones hate you, the other ones hated my colleagues, and I was there where they hated me. And the stupid thing was, you know how you get you have to be you get normally you get a little bracelet on your arm saying that you are an official. There, either something that you hang around your neck or a little bracelet saying that you are in the venue and you're allowed to go, everywhere into the dressing rooms and stuff. So that and this time I had a bracelet saying that I'm with with the officials team and I could go everywhere. And that bracelet was so tight, and because I was flying with only hand luggage, I didn't have scissors, and I couldn't get that bracelet off. So I was flying in the morning,
Oh,
and I had
no.
that bracelet on, and I thought, I hope I do not find those fans at the airport recognizing, because I was the only female, so they probably recognize me even if I'm not wearing a stitch. Then with that bracelet, they definitely know I'm the stupid one. Which, so I was sitting there, and at security, you have to take everything off, and then with that stupid bracelet, and then you go in, you try to put the sleeves of your shirt, like of the sweater, a little over that bracelet. It was just, yeah, it was an experience. I honestly though, I wouldn't want to miss it because I've learned from that. It was shocking, it was weird, but it's once it's gone, it's an experience. So it's good.
Amazing. That what kind of mindset or what kind of mentality do you think for a female official to have? What do you think that you have to be able to allow you to do your job properly?
I think you have to be, the mentality is really that you're able to separate your emotions from your behavior, and to not let things get to you too much, because you're always going to be criticized, and you're always going to be criticized more than male officials, and you're always going to be, or not always, but there are times where you're going to be criticized on a really low level, like really underneath the belt. Um, and you'll hear that, and you just have to ignore those things, because otherwise it'll make you really, yeah, depressed probably even if you think they mean you as a person, but that you have to know they don't mean you as a person. Then you have to be able to be prepared, be extra prepared. Always, always, always. Don't. I never go to a venue without having 3 bow ties, not one. I have 3. I can give them away, I can get them back, but I have always enough so that if anything happens, I can fix it up. I always have enough shirts so I look clean and neat. I always, always check the rules. Even though I've been doing that for years, I always bring my rule book. I always, and before I sit and I read, because they will ask you and they will ask you, fans will ask you and they will try to push you in the corner because you're a female and you don't know anything and you don't belong in that male sport. So you need to know the rules. You don't have to talk to them. And you can always go away, which is always the better thing to do, but you can go away better and stronger if you know you could have answered that question in a good way. And if this comes to that position, so always know the rules, always be prepared, always have your pencils there, so enough pens so that you can write. So it's not, the female, she's asking again that she can have something because she doesn't know, and she will just smile nicely and then she gets what she wants. No, always have your own stuff. Always. You can help out others, but always have your own stuff. And just do not depend on other people. It's good there, help out other people. Be happy when they're helping you, which they normally do because you act like a team, but still always, always be able to do it on your own too.
I have to take a deep breath because I just think that's our struggle, isn't it? As women, and probably in all walks of life, not just officiating in sports, it's probably in a boardroom, in companies, in organizations, in the family. It's just that constantly we have to be a lot better than other people in our position. You just have to almost over prepare. You have to prepare 200% than other people. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It's not fair, and you'll still not get the chances as quickly as others. They still will find a reason not to put you there, or they don't want to risk it. It's this, and we know that that official has done so many things, and we cannot risk putting in a new official. And if we put on a new official, we put in a new official, a male new official, because if that official does something bad, it's that new official who didn't do any that how we liked it. But if a female new official did that, then the guy who puts you in charge, he is in charge. He's responsible for a female not being prepared, not working well. That's a risk they put themselves on. So, of course, a lot of people who are in charge go the less risky way. And putting in a female is risky still. So you always have to work harder and just always be there so that every official, everyone who wants to be an official or everyone who wants to be whatever, I don't know, the best actor, the best musician, the best in the company or just not the best, but within the group of the good ones. You always have to be there, be seen, have them go to every place where there's every schooling, every convention, everywhere. Just, I know it's a lot of time. I know it's usually also a lot of money that you spend out of your own pocket. But if you want to be there, they have to see you much more. They have to see you so much, and they have to see that you're working so much that there comes a time where they cannot ignore you anymore. But that takes a lot of energy and a lot of money out of your own pocket.
And it's extremely tiring and draining, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also so nice when you have that one moment where you feel like, okay, that's the moment it's paying off now. And then it goes back to, oh no, they don't. And then it's in waves, of course. But still, you've overstepped that one mountain, and then another mountain comes, and you're there to step over the other mountain. But there are always those high moments where you think, okay, I've worked a lot and I've done a lot, but it pays off, and that's worth it.
Yes. Yeah. So, what would your vision, like the ideal future for you in the sport of boxing?
Well, I like the part right now. I actually really like the part of me being a referee and judge. I like the refereeing part more, but I do like being a judge as well. So of course I would like to get even more assignments or sometimes maybe over not just within Europe, but some other assignments overseas as well. That would be a lot of fun, and that's a little embarrassing, but I'll tell you anyhow. I'm going to be honest today. But what I feel like when I'm retired, and I can see myself. I don't know if it works out, but I would love to be like in my late 60s, 70s, mid 70s, and traveling, being a supervisor. Of course, I'm not going to be a referee back then, but having earned so much knowledge and having done a lot of refereeing jobs and being in a lot of situations and being a supervisor and a supervisor who's helping young new officials to come up or hopefully a lot of female officials. I would just love that. I can see myself as an elderly lady uh, being a supervisor. I hope the federation see that too later on. It's not just on me, but that would be just great.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see you doing that, being in that position. And I think that you'll definitely help a lot of other, young officials coming on. And yeah, I can definitely see that too. So I'm looking forward to
Oh,
seeing that.
oh, that would be so great being like the boxing federation granny or something. That would be lovely.
Boxing Federation granny. That. Amazing. So, what's the future for female officials in boxing, in your opinion?
They just, I think there are much more coming up, and we need more female officials. So I see them coming up. They have to be. Uh, they just have to not be afraid so much. Just take the risk. Just go in there and take the risk. The problem is, I think, yeah, in the UK is that it's very hard once you get to be a referee, and you cannot be a judge first. You have to be a referee. So that's the difficulty probably in the UK because it's so hard and not that many females have that much time also because, of family or getting kids, but you, still try to do that for yourself, even if you have family, even if you have kids. Everybody needs a hobby to have something for your own, and that's a little escape from family life. If you're a mother or and you love your family, of course, I don't say that you need to escape, but everybody needs that little spot from themselves where they can be the person again. So still do that, even if you have other commitments. If you like the sport, still do that. And in other countries, can either be a judge or a referee, and in other countries you can be both and decide. And a lot of females I see, they they're afraid of being a referee. Judging is okay because you're outside and you can judge and you're like you can still be on the spotlight like me when in their eyes you do something wrong, but it's a little safer than if you're the referee. And uh, but if you feel like you want to be that, just overcome being afraid and just try it. And we have to have the people helping out, and that this thing that what everybody says, like the old white men, they shouldn't stop you from doing that. Just go there. And we as a female officials, you see that sometimes that female officials like the position of being special and the only one, and they don't like to have another princess next to them, and that's bad. Because you have to help each other. You learn from each other. And if you're a bigger group, you have a bigger voice. You can do more, and you can change the society more if there's more of you. So being the princess and the only one maybe feels nice once in a while, but if you have that great overlook, you see it's not good. If you want to do something for the sport you love and for to make the society a little different, then you have to be more, and then you have to help out new ones and other females. You have to be there for each other.
Yeah, I
I hope
cannot
there will
agree
be
more.
more.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, I really hope that one day that people don't talk about female officials. They just talk about officials. And then there's just a mix group. At the moment, obviously you stand out, I stand out, and a lot of other female officials in other sports, they stand out because you're probably one of the handful. So perhaps, do
And
you
then
see boxing as that? Sorry, go on.
yeah, I see that. I see it. And then it's not helpful. They had this, I don't know where she comes from. They had this football female official, a very pretty one. And I don't, there was this one incident a few years ago where, she ran to a player, pretended to give him the red or the yellow card, I don't remember, and then just going and making like a sexy kind of gesture. And that went through on media, just like what she did, and she's so sexy, but you don't want to be. I mean, if you do that, then become influencer or something. But it's not helpful for all of us who really want to be respected as an official. We don't want to be the sexy official. We don't want to. It's hard to be sexy if we're dressed as a boxing official too. But you don't want to be a sex. You don't want to be sexy, or just don't try to be sexy, because the respect doesn't come if you just try to be sexy. And officials who try to play the female card and being such a beauty, and so it's not helpful, and it's really is not good for all of us who are trying to be real officials and really work, and then just find another place to show off and step away from officiating.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like, if you want to be be an official, be a professional officials, right? Like everyone else that who's in that position, and just be professional. And, I kind of sometimes, I don't know whether you feel the same. I kind of sometimes feel like being the official that we almost have to be very neutral and not being ourselves in a way. Not exactly wearing a mask, but it's almost kind of that we don't show any personal characters.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Do you feel that way as well? Or perhaps you feel differently?
Yes. No, I feel the same way. I feel, well, of course we have to show that we're humans. We said that a few times, and that it can happen that we like one boxer more than the other, or we just, one is being rude, one is being nice. Of course, you like that one person more than another. It's human, but there comes again the separation from the feelings to your behavior, and then you just have to behave the same way to both of them. Of course, if one is being rude, you can tell them off, and you don't have to tell the other one off who hasn't done anything just to do the same thing. That's stupid. But you have to give both of them the same kind of respect. You have to be totally neutral, and that puts that mask on you. But I found that as a female, we have that one, and that's probably playing the female card, which I also now do sometimes, but it's in a different way, because you have to find, you can either pretend to be very male to get your respect and be in there and be harsh and try to earn your respect by being loud or know that everybody has to find their own way on how to get the respect of the boxers or the team, whatever sport you do. And for me, I found, because I have two kids of my own, and my husband brought a kid. Now my kids are old. I mean, 20, 17 and 15. So now they're old. But what I found is that if I play the mommy card, the boxers behave better. I'm not being
Interesting.
the harsh one. I'm not being the loud one. I come with love. I'm the mommy. I care for them. I care for them as a person. I care for them as a boxer. I care for their health. I care for their career. I care for that sport. So I'm there because I love the sport and I care for them. And I really do care for them. I really do. When I get in there, and no matter if I like that person, no matter if he's like saying the ugliest thing in the way in, and you think, okay, how can you, then I'm like the mommy. I say, okay, it's not so good saying those things, right? We want to have our sport in a good light. But you don't go like the bad teacher. You go there with love, and I feel like it has helped a lot to gain that respect. And I got that idea from, I think it was I read a story about a Brazilian football team. It was a Brazilian football team, that's very interesting, that had a lot of problems with the rowdies. What do you call them? The ones that go in there and they make like they hit and they destroy everything. Those football fans. They are called, what's the name?
Hooligans? Hooligans?
Hooligans, yes, the hooligans, and they had a lot of trouble with hooligans. Like every football match they had, there were tons of hooligans, and then they put a lot of security up there and more security. It didn't help, and then one guy said, "We'll try it with the mothers," and they called the mothers, and they made the mothers security, and no more trouble. You can Google that.
I
Mothers
will.
as security in Brazil. And of course, those hooligans, they are not rowdies or hooligans to the mothers of one of their mates. Of course not. And that worked out. Because those Brazilian mothers being like, no, no, you don't do that. That's not nice. You put that away, right? And I thought, that is such a great idea. The mother. I'm a mother. I'm a female. I'm the mother. I'm in the ring. I'm your mother. I'm helping you. I'm helping to, because I do that all the time at home. I mean, I'm always in the ring somehow and dealing with family trouble. So, and I love my family. I love boxing. It's the same, almost the same thing. Not always like not that much blood, but other than that, and it's been a few years, and I have really improved my refereeing with that kind of mental change I did.
That is
That
brilliant.
could,
I love that. That's brilliant.
maybe that can help other officials instead of pretending to be male. Just work with that female side. And I have to say again, I don't mean the sexy female side. I mean the clear female side. I mean the Italian mama female side, not
Yeah.
not the playboy.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying, that sometimes that we kind of feel like, oh, we need to be like a man. People in the boardroom, like women in the boardroom, they feel like they have to be acting like the man to sit at that table in the boardroom, or in the sport being the referee or whatever. But no, we just be us. We bring a different thing. We bring different qualities into the sport, into officiating. Like you say, you're being the mum of the boxers. I absolutely love that. I think that's great.
Well, you're right. That's the same thing in a conference room. Just be secure of your female side, the strong female side. And females have done so much. I mean, they have fought for so much, for their right to vote, for their right for abortion, for like they had to fight the whole time. It's females always had to fight. So it's in our DNA. We just use it. We just need to find it and use it because we're strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. So finally, if you could just use probably 1 or 2 sentences to give some advice to women or girls who may be thinking about being a boxing official, what kind of advice would you give them?
You have to sit down and think why you want to do that, why you want to be an official, or why you want to be whatever it is you want to be. Just sit down and really reflect why you want to do that. And if you find why you want to do it, and it's the real, it's something real. It's not because you want to do it for fame, because then you're at the wrong place. But if you find why you want to do it, then just go through it. Go through it with all your heart, with every stone that just gets thrown on you. Just deal with it because it's worth doing that. Just go to it, put in the power, and you will succeed. If you work hard, you will succeed.
That's great. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Diana. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, your stories, and your strong mentality, and how you have come so far. And I need to thank you as well from me personally, the advice and support that you have given me. And yeah, I'm sure that a lot of the audience will be able to benefit from your stories and your experience as a boxing official. So thank you so much, Diana. Thank you.
I have to thank you. It was great. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you do, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Thank you.